do. See, that's where we so much need to know what the image of Jesus, what it is he's about, what he's looking for, what he's working for. Can you imagine him driving a car? Can you put Jesus in a car?
Not in rush hour.
Good point. What would Jesus do in rush hour? And what would he do if he's sitting in the car next to yours waiting for the light to change?
Somebody said he would part the traffic.
If only. Yeah. Is it impossible? Is it just expecting too much to try to think of how Jesus would steer his way through living in these times?
But of course, it's not really asking what would he do exactly as to where, like having his mind, where is he coming from? What are the directions he's coming from that we would apply to this situation? So we're not just saying exactly what is the action he would take, but what is it that he brought to ways of being on earth, a human being on earth following God. What did he bring to that we can tap into so that we can figure out what being a human on this earth?
Another way, maybe, what would be the pattern of his life in this kind of this kind of setting?
Right.
How would he live out
his
being a servant to others, being ready to do what the other person needs, being ready to stop whatever he's doing if there's a need, being willing to put other people's interests ahead of his own.
Mm-hmm.
What would it mean in this kind of a society to do that? I had a wonderful question. Just let me through. What if he were driving a Ford pickup and just got cut off by someone in traffic? But that's not going anywhere. I mean,
Exactly. Not what they do.
this is a little quote that I find very, very helpful. I would print it out and give you a copy if you would like it. It's just a one-line thing. But what our calling is, and this is from Luke Timothy Johnson. Luke Timothy Johnson is a teacher at Columbia Theological Seminary in Georgia, I think it is, has written a wonderful book called Living Jesus. It's where a lot of my passion about this course, really where a lot of that came from, because it just really spoke to me. But he has a line in that in which he says, our calling is, I've got to read this slowly, and it may go right over your heads because you can't look at it the way I can, but our calling is enacting in the circumstances specific to our own lives the same pattern in which Jesus lived. Now get that again. Enacting in the circumstances specific to our lives the pattern that Jesus lived by. And that's our challenge. That's what I hope you Sunday school teachers for adult classes here or in Arlington, I hope that's one of the things you talk about, how to enact that pattern. What does it mean? Because it's too big a challenge for us to do right here.
Wayne, I was thinking about what you're saying, and I'm thinking about what I see in Jesus' way of being. Plus, I heard a message preached this morning that put me in mind of this. He, when he had a big decision to make, he went up on the mountain and prayed all night. And and when he talked about why he did the things he did, he says, "I'm doing what I see my Father doing." He depended on his Heavenly Father for absolutely everything.
And let me just throw in, and when he had a big temptation to face, he spent that kind of time in prayer first.
Right. Yeah. So the pattern that I see is that he developed that close relationship with his Father, not so he could escape from the world and pretend that everything is okay when it's not, but so that he could be equipped to go down the mountain and make the choices and deal with the people and all the hassle. And I think that's something we can follow.
That's very helpful. Yeah. Here's another here's another line that may help us grasp what our challenge is. Just as Jesus was the embodiment, as Jesus lived out in his human life, an embodiment of God, so we could see God in him. We are to be the embodiment of Jesus in our lives. That the way he embodied it by putting it into human actions, human decisions, living with, he had a mother and father that he had to grow up with, or a family situation that he had to be in for a while. He had followers who were so disappointing to him at times. He had all kinds of opposition to face. But in that all, he was the embodiment of God, God's love, God's will. And we are to be the embodiment of Jesus in our circumstances, too. It's a big challenge. To get at the challenge that I would like to finish out with, and that we would have a closing time of prayer around. Let me get another picture up here, and we're going to spend some time around that. Just a moment. And Bob, if you could maybe put up just these two lights right over top here.